What's up, Coach Pete? We are live, my friend.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. We just did a Swiss ball for jiu-jitsu class with the kids. There were no casualties. They all made it through okay, unscathed. It was pretty awesome.
You're going to have to work a little harder then.
I know. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. I want to say happy anniversary. It's been 6 glorious years.
6 years ago, you showed up in that black gi, and I gave you that.
Yes, I did.
I gave you the old.
I snuck out of there. I was like, hey, look, defenseless babies. I looked to the right. You looked, and I left. It was strategic on my part. Yeah, you know what's funny about that is, that we had a blue belt that used to train with us many moons ago named Brian Colonna. And he and I got Brian into training. And we were talking, and we were like, man, think we need to change schools. We got to find something else. And we saw your sign, and I was like, he's like, I'm going to go over. And I'm like, I'm going to go over too. So then I went over that Thursday. I think it was a Thursday when I went over. And I walked in, and I'm like, I'm the only guy in a black gi except for Professor. Oh, Jesus Christ. Because, I didn't have gi restrictions at the so I was like, oh, Jesus. But I remember we were about 10 minutes in, and I went, I got to change school. And then 2 years later, I came over.
Yeah, so I was going to say, Brian came to me first. Brian sent me this email that was like, it was like he was applying for a corporate job, like the way he was talking to me.
So Brian.
And then he came on board, and then you came to the open house day one, and then you disappeared for 6 or 7 months, and then you came back.
Well, not necessarily. Not like, because Brian signed up, and I was training with you guys. I was over once, twice a week. And at the time, I can remember, I was like, I'm ready to jump. I got striped. Then I got I'm like, man, I'm ready to go. I was, because I just got done Naga, and I was like, man, I'm ready to go. I got striped. And I'm like,
dude, I
don't want to be a creonch,
I get it, man. I get it. But here's the thing, like we've been in the situation with like Battle and Coach Al where like I've tried to push Battle out a couple of times, and it's not because we don't love him. It's because like I don't want to be his glass ceiling. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Battle's a once in a lifetime special talent, and he's like T1000. Like what am I supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? Like, so I took a different approach with Battle where I'm trying to make him an amazing instructor and like an adult, which is the biggest battle. But the truth is, like, there have been more than one time, like, occasion where I'm like, Battle, you should go to Atos. You should get out of here, bro. You should go. You should go to Danaher. But bless his little heart, he stuck around. And like Big Al's the same way. Like I wouldn't. But the point is, like, I would not be looking at you like a creonch if I was your glass ceiling and you wanted to go somewhere else.
Yeah. That wouldn't happen. So, because you know me, I'm extremely loyal, and it'll be the boot in the ass, and you say, "Look, old man,
adios.
There's an 85 and over community for you to go teach jiu-jitsu at. I'm sure you need to go over there and start teaching there.
Yep."
Breaking hips the right way.
We'll kick you out. We'll kick you out soon enough, dude. Let me. I'm going to share this real quick, just so people know that we're live.
Sweet.
Sorry, 1 second. Ugh. Yeah, there it is. All right, man. So what's going on?
All right, so here's the deal. We're going to put you under some questions. Nothing major. We'll mix it up a little bit. I got a bunch of them here. We'll see how far we get because we don't want to bogart everybody's time. But I thought since, you're the man with the plan, you're the one everybody looks up to simply because you're taller than everybody, thought I'd ask you some questions this time, right? So, so obviously it's going to be a lot about martial arts and stuff like that, but a couple other things as well. So, all right, real quick, I know where you started, so tell everybody else. How were you when you started martial arts, and who was your first teacher?
Dude, are you kidding me? We're going that far back?
It's not going to stay there, trust me.
So here's what you guys have to understand. I grew up in the dojo, and I don't mean that like I mean that literally. So my uncle, who has been a mentor to me just about my entire life, he owned the martial arts school when I was a little kid. So he didn't have a kids program, But even before then, you got to think, me and my older brother who fought each other nonstop as it was, when we went to my grandma's house, the whole upstairs was my uncle's. He had ninja stars, nunchucks, friggin' broadswords. It was, and you know, this was like Power Rangers, Ninja Turtle time. So that's kind of like how I got my start. Was just up in his room watching UFC 1 on VHS, which I should not have been. That was like inappropriate. But man, that was cool. And then one time my older cousins came to visit from Utah, and I was not allowed to take class. I was like 7 years old, but I was out in the lobby. I'd be out in the lobby every morning, you know, Saturday morning, just doing all the moves from the lobby. But this time when my cousins came to visit, they were much, much older, 6, 7 years older. My uncle let them take class, and he let me take class just for like, all right, we'll let Peter just, you know, shut him up. And I was, you know, like, you know how serious I am. I was just like doing everything like, ah. And they started letting me take class, and then they actually kind of built a kids class of kids my age around that. And that was my start, man. And then, you know, I would like come and go for football season, come and go for different sports. But when I was like 16, I started teaching. We started doing some jiu-jitsu, learned how to do an arm bar. And then, you know, college happened, UFC happened. I came back, and then here we are.
Yeah.
A lot happened in between, but I'm, you know, I don't want to bogart everybody's time.
Yeah, so here's the other thing, because I have, you know, we went up, you did the seminar, we all went up, we supported you and met your uncle, who's an awesome guy. You know, we'll go back and forth on Facebook from time to time, really good guy. And when we get to come over for the girls' birthdays, how instrumental was his influence on you and where you are today?
Oh, man, you got to understand something. Like when you open a school, it's not as easy as it looks. It's not just going up.
It looks like I could just go do it right now. I'll be right back.
I know, man, but you got to think, like, here's a good example. We had Kyle Terra come do a seminar at Ricardo's a while back, and at the time he had 35 students. Kyle Terra had 35 students, because it's not how well you play guard or even how well you speak. There's a lot that goes into it. So you got to think, like, from the time I was a little kid, I was coming up under the wing of one of the industry's leading consultants, we'll call it. I was really lucky. Like my uncle was always doing, you know, speeches and like breakout sessions, and like he just teaches school owners how to do it the right way. And on top of that, because there's a lot of that, he's got integrity. He's got like a strong value system, and he's no BS. Like he's just exactly, you know, you get what he is. And that's probably the most important part of that. So the two things that I got mostly from him were three things, we'll say, man, because I got access to the world's best martial artists through my uncle, not through my own merit. I got like access to one of the greatest minds in like, you know, martial arts business. And I got a mentor and an uncle who is like no frills, no BS, knows what he values, is made of integrity. And that's invaluable, man. It's been invaluable.
Yeah, everybody needs that in their life. The one that when you need it, we'll call a spade a spade. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? So what was your major in college, and where did you go?
My major, like on paper, or like what did I actually do?
We're not going into what happened when you weren't in college, like when you were at the frat house and stuff. Like we're going to keep it because there's a reason for this. Because it was you went to college, you had your major. What was your goal going to be through your education?
All right, so I went. I get it, man. I went to school for history because I love to read, and just being in history classes made me happy, made me think, and I just couldn't imagine myself like sitting at a desk. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And the thing everybody would always say is when I would say that my major, they'd be like, "Oh, you want to be a teacher?" I'd be like, "No, it's the last thing in the world I want to do. I don't have that in me." And you know, lo and behold, I'm a friggin' teacher, but in a way. But I went for history, and I had no idea where it might take me. I thought maybe I would edit books because I love reading so much.
Yeah. Here's one for you. You never knew this. Is history was my favorite subject. Obviously because I'm a part of it being at this age, but yeah, I've seen so much of it. No, but history was always just huge with me. Like through World War I, World War II, the Vietnam Wars, all that stuff. You know, my grandfather, my uncles, my great uncles were all in the wars. And, you know, that always stuck with me. And it was always my favorite subject. And I always said if I went to college, I'd be a history major probably, and maybe try to be a teacher or go to law school after, believe it or not. But fortunately, I went in the military instead. So, all right. So here's the deal. So you get done with college and you're going, man, I want to do what? In reality, because this led to you going to Professor Almeida through your uncle.
Yeah, so luckily I've been an underachiever for quite some time, and here's the truth, man. I'm not one to toot my own horn, but you know, I was pretty good in school. So like in middle school, I got like a national math award, and I was coasting, and I lived with only my dad. He didn't really, there was no oversight. I'm not gonna say I raised myself because he took great care of me, but he just knew that I was smart and I got my stuff done. So he didn't look at report cards. He didn't do any of that stuff. So by the time I was like 15, I started to realize it was pretty fun hanging out with your buddies. By the time I was 16, I don't know, I'll just call it what it is. I found girls, you know, and it just, schooling took a back seat. But man, I was pretty good at taking tests. And it didn't matter that I was such an underachiever. I coasted, and I got into school no problem. And I tried treating college the same way, and it just didn't work like that, right? I tried to coast, and I made it through, but not with any stellar grades, which in hindsight is great, because if I didn't have such a lackluster college career, I might have gotten a job right out of school. And how it actually went down was I graduated, I was lifeguarding, which is the best summer, you know, when you're 20, 21, 22. Working on my tan, working on my jackness, and just putting in like half-assed resumes at different publishing houses in New York City. Like, why would anybody look at my resume and be like, he's hired? So obviously I didn't get a job. And this was my last year in college is when like Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture were huge. And I'll be honest, guys. I'm honest and upfront about this. I was fighting a lot in college. I wasn't assaulting people. Plenty of people were more than happy to fight me. But I thought I was a tough guy. And all my friends were like, man, you should do that. It's like when the Ultimate Fighter House came out. They're like, you should do that. And I thought it was as easy as like just signing up. So when I got home, I tried to sign up for an amateur fight. It wasn't that easy. I wasn't even training. Keep that in mind. And I called my uncle, who we were kind of estranged at the time. It's been years since I talked to him. And luckily, I didn't get a job. I had plenty of free time. He's like, go to this website. And it was like a New Jersey MMA crappy website. And the pictures were Dante Rivera getting into a fight in the cage after the fight with Alexis Aquinos. And my uncle was in there. It was like a brawl. And that was his way, like, name dropping a little bit, showing off a little bit, but also to be like, this is what we're up. This is who I'm with these days. You should come down. And Tuesday morning, I drove down an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes in the car to train with the friggin' New Jersey Pitbull team, New York Pitbull team.
And that's where it started.
Yep.
That's where it started. So you start training MMA, which led to you obviously being a jiu-jitsu, and you're teaching with your kids program. And I know that was pretty much the staple for you, I believe, at that time was, you're doing the MMA stuff, but teaching the kids class, because I've heard, and I've had other guys tell me, and, like Professor Bobby would tell me every time I see him, man, Pete was nailing it. You were just so good at it. So how did that materialize? What happened with that?
So I was teaching. So like I said, we went down to train with the MMA team. And my uncle, the consultant that he was doing consultant work for a school in East Brunswick, which was failing. It was about to close. So we would train in the morning at Ricardo's. We would stop in East Brunswick on the way up and do instructor training. So I would get like a second training session in, like kickboxing or something. Mm-hmm. And what happened was they lost their instructor. So they put me in there to just teach out the lease, we called it. So there was like 3 months left on the lease, and they just didn't want their students to, get thrown into the ether. So I started teaching there, and talk about trial by fire. Like, I just got dumped in there. They gave me the key to the school, and they're like, hey, run a program. And that's how I kind of like, cut my teeth, so to speak. And I taught how to teach karate. And here's the thing, man, like we have a leg up on everybody with this virtual jiu-jitsu stuff, because I'm used to teaching karate, which is hard, man, because it's not hands-on. It's all based on your ability to communicate and your ability to like be charismatic and captivating. But that's how I really learned. And I was one of the first guys. But the thing is, I did that for like a year. I didn't teach down the lease. We grew, and then they sold the school to somebody who then turned into like the biggest school in the world. So good for you, Nancy. I'm proud of you. But I got a message from Ricardo's wife one day, and she was like, "Pete, come to the house. We want to talk to you." So immediately I called my uncle. I'm like, "I got a message from Allie. What do I do?" He's like, "Just go to the house. They're going to give you a job." And he gave me a job, man. And he literally, just like Dave Kovar gave me the key to Satori in East Brunswick and said, "Take it and run with it." Ricardo, so to speak, gave me the key to the kids program, which was non-existent at Ricardo's. And I grew it into probably the biggest kids jiu-jitsu program in the country and maybe even in the world. At one point, we had like 170 kids, which 10, 12 years ago, you got to understand that did not happen in jiu-jitsu. And one of the reasons for this success is I'd say I was one of the first guys to take that teaching methodology and structure of karate and apply it to the awesomeness that is jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's and I think everybody sees the way how well you teach, because that's the first thing that I noticed was you're probably the best teacher I've had at anything I've ever done as far as educational, from high school, elementary, the whole thing. You've been the best teacher that I've had. So,
Pete, I'm not giving you a black belt, dude. You could say whatever you want.
I know you're not giving me one, especially now. But but no, so you get in, you're teaching the kids, you're fighting MMA. You went 4-0, and you're doing some jiu-jitsu competitions, and you get hurt, right? 3-0. All right. So you do that, you get hurt, and the injury comes, and that was kind of a change in everything that happened with you. Because if you didn't get hurt, and I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, you'd been fighting MMA. And I think Professor Mitaka said it when you talked the other day. If Newbury didn't close down, all of a sudden he's fighting pro MMA. God knows where it goes. And your path gets altered. It's the fork in the road, so to speak. Right. Mm-hmm. So you go through, you were a purple belt when you got hurt?
Yep.
Purple belt when you got hurt. And now everything kind of changes. Your jiu-jitsu changes, and obviously your teaching changes. And that becomes your path, right? So what happened mentally after you got hurt? Because we all get to that point. Mentally, you go through that and you say, maybe I need to concentrate on this more than the other thing. How did that go? And what was your thought process?
Yeah, that's a good question, man, because I realized, like, I always wanted to fight, and a big part of it was, I think a lot of people would agree, like, if you're going to be honest with yourself, is you need the validation. You want to show that you're a tough guy. You want to prove to yourself that you'll get in a cage with another guy. But I realized after my first fight, I was like, and I won, I was like, this doesn't feel like I thought it was going to feel. I kept doing it because I did enjoy it, and I liked the suffering, I liked the scariness of it and all that jazz, but it just wasn't, I knew I wasn't going to be Frankie Edgar. I knew that I didn't have the drive and the passion in the fight to keep doing that to my body. And it's the thing we would always say, but me and Matakis would say about MMA is it's a black hole. It's a black hole, man, because if you're going to be serious about MMA, you cannot do anything else. And luckily I was young and I was teaching, so I could devote everything to MMA. But when I got hurt, that really opened up my eyes to, like, I don't really give a damn about fighting ever again. I mean, I don't even really care about competing. My goal from the time I was like 10 years old was to open up a martial arts school. That was always my goal. And I wanted to fight along the way because it was available to me. But, oh, man, when your shoulder falls off, like, you realize, like, I don't give a damn if like, extended teammates are like, he doesn't compete. He's not legit. You realize real quick, you don't give a damn about that. You want to be able to teach a class and not be in pain. You want to be able to train with your students. Like, you want to be able to pick up your kids. You want to be able to, like, you know, do pull-ups without being in pain. That was the big switch. Like, I realized real quick I didn't give a damn about those other things.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So now we'll kind of go a little bit on the, I know the kind of some of it, but who was your group? Because I really believe that you need to have a supporting cast. You know, you have the great school, you're friends with everybody supports each other, but you always got that little group.
The purple circle,
you know,
man.
I wasn't going to say it. I was going to let you do it. There's the bait. So who was your group, and how did you guys support each other, especially when you're going through the downtimes and stuff to get to where you are now?
Yeah, dude.
Because you're all black belts now. That's a thing. You knew, and you're all black belts now.
Yeah, well, I mean, so every school has cliques and groups, and the truth is, man, you don't want things to be cliquey, but you want to support the formation of these groups. Because the peer group is accountability, like what you just said. So the purple circle, man, it was me, Rob Cook, Chris Matakis, Max Bohannon, and we had a couple other guys, like Nick Lieskos was kind of in it. But we had a wrecking crew of a peer group. Hot damn. Not an easy roll in the house, man. And it was just, we gelled, dude. And because, like, me, Rob, and Chris are all kind of like highbrow, and, you know, we fancy ourselves intellectuals. Max was just a special athlete and a special person in that, like, he was just unique. We gelled well together, and all four of us had vastly different jiu-jitsu styles, and we were just all in a position in our lives where we were all in, all about it, training every day, meeting up Sunday nights and training, spending a lot of time together, and not leaving, like, no man left behind. We were big on that. So, like, if those guys knew a technique, they wouldn't leave me behind. And if I was, like, getting ahead, I wouldn't leave them behind. And when one of us got hurt, we would help ease them back into the pack instead of, like, headhunt. The purple circle, man, I would not be here without them. Love you guys.
That's it. That's awesome. And they're all great guys, too. They're all great guys. So you have your purple circle. You get to the point where you get your black belt. How was that? I guess you kind of get to the point where Professor Almeida kind of says to you, you know, and then you go through that. How is that dealing with that? I'm not just pointing it out as a black belt, but I think, and you've said it before, time waits for no man. And you're kind of going, look, man, you're getting this. You're going to have to deal with it. Deal with it all you want, but deal with it on the mat and process. How did you deal with that?
Like getting my black belt?
Yeah, it's a big thing. We always talk because, everybody talks. I'm still waiting for you to give me my blue belt. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, I don't even know how I'm.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I might give you a purple. I don't know.
And maybe
here's the thing. So you got to keep in mind, I was working at the school. I got my black belt very quickly. I got it in like 6.5 years or so. Maybe even a little bit less than that. And I felt like a fraud until probably just before I got my first stripe on my black belt. And now, like, I'll be honest, I'm confident and I grew into it. And my uncle's thing had always been like, and Ricardo's thing, that you got to know who your guys are. And it's very rare that you belt somebody at the exact moment that they're ready for it. So it's either some people work better and do better and succeed better if you hold them back and you belt them after they deserve it, I guess. Or you put that belt in front of them and you give it to them and then you have them grow into it. And I think that's what Ricardo did with me. But I was working at the school and I remember he's putting together the black belt list in the office and he looks at me like cockeyed. He's like, hey, man, when did you get your brown belt? And I was like, fuck. I was like, not that long ago, Professor. And he's like, what do you think, man? You ready? And I was like, I don't know if I'm the one that has to answer that. I think that's your question to answer. And that was it, man. But nobody wraps that belt on their waist and feels like they're a black belt, I don't think.
Yeah. I guess it's one of those things. Everybody has to grow into it. You have it. Now you got to kind of, It has to attach to you. It has to get. It has to grow into you, so to speak. You have to wear it. You have to really absorb that black belt, right? So you've been on the mat with some really good guys, right? Some high-level guys from MMA and Jiu-Jitsu, right? Who was your toughest role in those days, especially with the MMA guys? I know you're in there with Dante and all those guys. I know that could not have been easy because Dante's an animal of a different breed. You know, just that. Who are some of the toughest guys that you had to deal with?
Oh man, I mean, we could take that a bunch of different ways. Like,
I left it open-ended, and I left it to your device.
All right, so the hardest, I mean, training sessions. The one guy who used to hurt me real bad when we were sparring was Andre Guzman, who was like, if you don't know who he is, he's the first guy John Jones fought in the UFC. Nobody knew who John Jones was, and he kind of beat him up, but like, Andre Guzman, he's like a capoeira guy and a black belt, and he's like a fucking lunatic. So he would like do like spinning back kicks and heel kicks in my head, and like we'd be done training, he'd just be sitting on the side like, I'm a bad mother effer. You know, he's just that kind of. He used to hurt me pretty bad. Sparring. But in terms of like just rounds, like Gregor Gracie used to beat me up pretty bad. But nobody was more painful to roll with than Dante Rivera. Dante was the most. Every position with Dante was painful. Everything. And you got to also keep in mind, like, I don't know if Dante took a liking to me early on, or if he was just like training with me, or whatever. If it was altruistic, like he was trying to be a mentor. I clocked a lot of training hours with Dante Rivera, and like I remember one time he kneed me in the heart. We were doing like wall takedowns, and I thought I was gonna die. And like he'll still make fun of me for that, but like I owe Dante a lot, man. Like he beat the crap out of me a lot, but nobody can hurt me now. You know what I mean? Like nothing is like painful now. But yeah, screw you, Dante.
Dante's Dante. I love Dante, and I know I've shared it and said it a bunch of times. You know, the first time I competed at Grappler's Quest, it was just me and, you know, my family and Carlo, my kid, yelling, "Yeah, Dad, don't do that. Dad." Like, he doesn't know jiu-jitsu. And I'm in the bronze medal match, and you know, all these guys are like in their 20s, and I'm 44 or whatever it is. And there's this guy with these red, like those old Reebok shoes. He's wearing a black belt on, and I hear him yelling at me, "Hey man, dude!" And I'm going with this Brazilian guy, and I think I won like 16-0 or something like that. And he's like, "Man, you had that Kimura," and I'm like, I was about to die, man. I was just like dead. It was just a long day, and that was the first time at my first time meeting Dante. That when I lost to one of his guys in the my second fight, but. It was I knew, I was like, man, this guy's pretty cool. And then I met him at the academy the first time he came in. Pretty awesome guy.
People, if you don't know who Dante is, Dante's like a New Jersey. When I first started training, Dante was like a pioneer and like a superstar of New Jersey MMA. He was the guy. And it was just like a couple short years later, maybe even less than that, like I moved in with him. So talk about like... I lucked out so many times along the way. I got so many opportunities. Like, I didn't deserve to work for Ricardo. Ricardo hired me when I was a blue belt. When the list of people who should have had that job was long, and there were black belts and brown belts. Like, he took a chance on me, man, mostly because of my uncle. You know? Yeah. And he did see, like, talent, I guess, in me, or potential, we'll call it. And then Dante took me in, and maybe he just needed a roommate. But I got all these opportunities over the years, and I lucked out. I also took the chance to walk through the door every time the door was open, and I was more than willing to take my licks and get my ass kicked. But Dante, I wouldn't be here right now if it was like this shirt would not say this if it wasn't like it might say something else. But, you know, thank you, Dante, you bastard.
I love Dante. Yeah, I jammed my thumb on his thigh 2-3 years ago. It still hurts.
Yeah.
So it's been 6 years you've been open. What are some of the biggest lessons that you learned in that time? Because it takes a lot to be able to say, to kind of take account, say, because I know certain things work, certain things don't work, and not getting too granular, but what were some of the biggest lessons you learned in these 6 years?
Yeah. Probably the biggest thing is I don't have all the answers. You know, like we all think at one point in our lives that we know everything and that we're the best. And I realized over the years that there are people who run better programs than me. There are better kids instructors than me. There are much better jiu-jitsu guys than me. So that was a valuable lesson, you know, the humility aspect of it, not always having the answers.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, I don't know, man, like my facade, my BS got knocked away. Like the thing I would always say is this, like when I talked about with Matakas the other day about this, when we first opened up, I had no kids. Me and Melissa weren't even married yet. We were living in the townhouse. We would hang out every once in a while. We'd go out and have a couple drinks, and that was fine. And then when the school started to grow, I stopped that. I don't know if you realize, like there were a couple years there, like I didn't hang out with you guys. And the reason was this. You guys deserved to have a leader who was like a certain person. And at the time, I wasn't like full of crap. And it wasn't like smoke and mirrors, but I needed to be this guy on the mat, and I was kind of this guy in real life. Like I still had some flaws and like things I needed to improve on in my personal life. But over the years, man, like just from being this guy on the mat so much and wanting to be that guy all the time, I'm there now. You know what I mean? Like, and what do we do? Now I spend a lot of time with you, man, because the leader you deserve me to be, that's me all the time, from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. And that's been invaluable. Like, it's changed every aspect of my life, just being this leader. I hate saying that, but it's true, man. Somebody's got to be at the front of the friggin' room, and it just so happens to be me. And I like who it's made me become.
That's a big thing. And, you know, and we've talked a million times about I'm a military guy, and, you know, I think military guys kind of have a thing, especially when it comes to martial arts and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You know, there's rank and file, you know, everybody, and not just you can be a blue belt and still be a leader. You could be a purple belt. You could be a white belt. You could be a leader, but you have to have, everybody has a role. I mean, it's like, you know, somebody's got to be the point man when you take that hill. Unfortunately, the lifespan of that point man is only 60 seconds, but you have an integral role taking that hill. You know, you're the first one charging. You're going live fire up that hill. I mean, everybody's got a role, and that's the way it is, you know, and that's a big thing. So it's been 6 years, and, you know, I was there when Tony got his coach's patch, and that's a huge thing. And, you know, that was a big deal. You know, it was you, and coach got his patch, and that was a big deal. And then, you know, and now you have a staff, you know, building that staff, building your chain of command. That, I mean, whether you like it or not, you're the CO, or, you know, the commanding officer of McHugh Incorporated or whatever, McHugh, the battle command of McHugh. So you're the commanding officer. So now you have these, you know, commanders underneath you. That's a really important thing. And I'm not tuning my horn. I'm saying it for everybody. Everybody's got their own. I think we do it pretty well. How did you go through the process of saying and pointing at and finding who you thought was deserving? Because you know, it's not everybody's on the mat all the time, but you have an innate ability to pick people.
Yeah, I mean, look, in a way, they pick themselves, but I'm lucky in a couple fronts. One is I've seen this process from the other side. Like you got to keep in mind, like at Ricardo's, I was always developing my replacement because I knew I would be out, and I know a school is only as strong as their bench, and a lot of people miss that point, man. And I also understand that you cannot polish a turd, which is like my favorite saying. So you can have somebody who loves it and they want to teach so bad, but man, you don't put lipstick on a pig, and you can't polish a turd, no matter how hard you scrub. So two things have to really happen. Like, one is they've got to have some innate ability, whether it's, and look, if you look at our staff, I hate calling it that, man. Like, we're a team. We're a team. And if you look at us, none of us are the same. Tony's pretty damn close to me. And I'm going to start charging him 5 cents every time he uses my phrases and my tonality. But the truth is, like, it's the biggest compliment somebody could pay me. But he's the only one that could get away with that. Like, if you tried to teach like me, it would not work. If Rich tried to
teach, it didn't work.
You can't. So the point is, like, we all have our different talents. Like Rich probably isn't the most like vocal guy, but he's like he treats his body like a temple, and he loves it, and he's friggin' reliable. Like, you can set your watch to Rich. You know, you don't know your right hand from your left, and
true.
But we made it work because you're endearing and you wear your heart on your sleeve, and people love you for that. So they forgive your mistakes, you know. And then we have like James is just like earnest and eager. Coach Allen is just like stoic and reliable, you know. Like, we all play off each other really well. Now, part of that is there's an art to finding those people. Part of it is just always looking for it, but you know how they say, like, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. The people who want to be like in that role, they kind of make themselves obvious pretty quickly, you know.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
But man, let me say, like, any school owners I talk to, one of the first things that they always mention is the strength of our staff, and it's not an accident.
That's good. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so now we got a couple rapid fire ones for you before we get to the last couple questions, right? Favorite book?
The Giver.
The Giver. Favorite band?
Oh, man. It depends on where I'm at in my life, dude. You can't do that to me.
So I was going to say this. I actually had it broke down. Your Ute, meaning your college days, and kind of now. Who's your kind of – because everybody goes through –
yeah, man. So way back in the day, like in high school, we were big in like middle school, it was Metallica, and then it became like emo. Like, we were all about like Newfound Glory. I like ska. Less Than Jake. I was really big into Less Than Jake. Alkaline Trio. I was real big into like all the different punk compilation CDs. Like Another Year on the Street was my big one. Saves the Day I was big into. And then my dad's a big classic rock guy, so I love like Allman Brothers, Floyd. I'm all over the place, dude. I'm all over the place. And then, of course, like some Biggie, Tupac.
Yeah.
I'm all over, man. These days I'm listening to like the Troll soundtrack.
It's funny how you transition. We'll get to that in a minute. All right, so where do we go? We went music, went books. Favorite movie?
Oh.
You're stuck on an island. You have one movie you can watch.
Damn. That's a tough one, man. Braveheart, maybe?
Oh, I love that.
Dude, we could go a bunch of different ways. There's so many good ones.
I'll give you, how about this? Top five.
All right, man. Kickboxer, Braveheart, Fight Club, Snatch, Boondock Saints. Oh, that was 6 of them, but Boondock Saints has to be in there.
It has to be. I love that movie. Favorite place you've never been to?
I want to go to Japan so bad. So bad. I'm really big. Like, you asked me my favorite book. I said The Giver because that was like the first book I fell in love with in like 4th or 5th grade. But I'm really big into the Japanese epics like Musashi, Taiko, and Shogun. Love Shogun. I just want to be in Japan so bad, dude.
Awesome. All right. You win the lottery. What's the first thing you do? First thing you buy. How's that?
Buy a better building for the school.
But aside from that.
That's all I need, man. I don't need anything.
All right. This one, what's the one I was thinking?
I would get a nice sauna put in my house.
There you go. Something like that, right? That's a good one. Favorite pair of flip-flops? Because you're always wearing flip-flops.
Havaianas.
I thought you were going to say those dollar ones you used to wear, the red ones. All right. Favorite car?
I don't know, man. I used to say Tacoma, and I got the Tacoma, and it's
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I'm talking. You can say anything, whatever car, a Ferrari, whatever.
Dude, I'm not a car guy. I'm not a car guy. I really don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Does nothing for me.
Right. I give you that one. I give you
No,
that one.
if I was gonna pick a car, it would be like a '66 Mustang or something, like one of those old school muscle cars, man.
That's where I'm going. I'm a 49 Merc guy. I'd love to have a lead sled chop, slam to the ground, blah, blah, blah. I like that. All right. What was the last one? I said vacation. You have one place you have to live the rest of your life. Where would that be?
Wherever my family is, my man.
That's a good one. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. Wherever there's a bottle of bourbon and a lot of pills. No, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right. So now, full circle, the impact of being married and having kids versus where you were just 4 years ago, right?
Man.
That's a big one, especially now that you're in the house. You're trying to do what you can. It's impact. And a lot of it is not so much stuff you see on the outside. It's more on the inside I'm talking. You know what I mean? Where it counts, in the heart. Because I've seen you from before and I've seen you now. And there's a huge appreciation, and it's kind of like putting you out there, getting the feels going for you.
Yeah, all right. So nobody will dispute the fact that I love my girls. I'm a family man and all that jazz. What you might not know is that before we had kids, I owned my own business. I was very into like self-discovery, personal growth, self-improvement. So my days were spent listening to podcasts, writing. I always wanted to write a book. I would live on the foam roller for 4 hours. Those days clearly are gone. Those days are very, very far behind me, or very far in front of me, we'll say. I'll get back there. So the hardest part of having kids in a family was the shock of zero personal time, no downtime. And then, but the benefit is this, man. And you know what the benefit is of the quarantine with kids is, like, I saw a meme and I wanted to find who wrote it and stab him in his face. It was like, if you don't come out of this with a new skill, you never lacked time. You lacked discipline. Hey, how about you shut your mouth? You shut your face.
Yeah.
Because the girls go to sleep at 8, so I have an hour and a half to like build out an online curriculum for my jiu-jitsu school. Yeah. But besides that, like, there's no time. But what do we learn? We learn to be more effective. And that's not my strong suit, dude. My strong suit is like, give me a weekend and I will build you a website. But if you give me 3 hours against the gun, like, I don't work well like that.
Yeah.
But I'm learning.
You have a very adaptability, I guess you could say. You've adapted to a lot of things, especially in this time, and just in general, because you're going, got to open a school, got to do this. All right. So now the short, medium, long. You got 1, 3, and 5 year plan you have to do in a second's notice. What is your scope for yourself and what you see with the school?
1, 3, and 5.
Yeah, 1, 3, 5.
Yeah, well, within the next year, it's going to be transitioning back onto the mat, and I have a lot of different plans for that. Like you said, if I have one skill set, it's adaptability. Like, I'm just good at figuring things out. I'm good at figuring out how to make things work. So the next year is just getting back on the mat, man, and figuring out a way to get back on the mat to what we had, and to still offer this cool thing that we're doing online, man, because it's working. It's really cool. I'll figure that out, and that'll be fun. That's the next year. 3-year plan, I would say, is to graduate a bunch of black belts, you guys. And then probably buy the building that the school is in, just so we can secure our future. And then the 5-year plan would be to have all you guys own your own buildings. Have your own schools with 150 students. In 5 years, we should have 5 or 6 of you guys, you black belts, should have your own schools with at least 150 students in each one of them, and we are going to be working on you buying your building.
That's awesome. I wasn't even going there, but that's pretty awesome. That's awesome. So that's it. That's pretty much all I had. I thought it'd be kind of cool to throw some questions at you and hopefully fill in some gaps that people don't know the mythical Professor Pete. So that's all I had, but I thought I'd throw some at you, especially because it's just the mythical. He's a myth. Like,
well, here's the thing,
smoke, and here comes Professor.
One thing you have to realize, and you might have realized this, is I don't like the fact that I've got to be the one at the front of the room. I don't like the fact that when we have belt promotions, I'm the one that has to talk. I don't like the fact that I'm the one that has to be in front of a camera. I'm not good at this stuff. And I
But you
never,
are.
okay.
That's the thing. See, that's the one thing that everybody will agree is you don't like it, but you're really good at it.
All right.
I don't like being ugly, but I'm really good at it.
You're nailing it. You're nailing it. It's not comfortable. One thing I learned from my uncle. One of the things that my uncle does with his teaching philosophy, his teaching methodology, is he teaches from the back of the room. And he does that on purpose because he doesn't want to be the sage on the stage. And his big thing, and something you probably have heard me say, is your teacher is a resource. They are not the source. And the big problem that's very prevalent in jiu-jitsu especially, and all martial arts, is, you know, this being the sage on the stage. Like, you got the headset and you got the music playing. All right, guys, like, you're living out your rock and roll dreams. And the truth is, like, I'm not Luke Skywalker. I'm Yoda. Like, my job is not to be the star of the movie. You guys are the star of the movie. And I try my best to make things not about me unless you can learn from it or it's funny. And that's about it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. You do everything pretty good. Don't get a big head. But I don't regret the last 5.5 years I've been bugging you. So it's I guess that's a good thing.
I appreciate it, bud. I appreciate you, man. You did a lot for the school.
I try to, you know me. I do as little as I can.
I know.
I'm a minimalist.
I know.
Well, that's awesome. I just just thought I'd put you on there so maybe people had some questions and probably fill some gaps in. I thought it'd be pretty cool. Especially on the anniversary, man. 6 years is a big deal.
I agree, man.
6 years is a big deal. That's awesome. Anyways, well, that's all I had. So it's up to you. If you have anything, it's up. You go ahead.
Nah, man. I mean, I appreciate it. It's cool to take a minute and look back on the journey. One of the things I was talking to my uncle about one time is people have like these awesome white belt stories, you know, like. And one of the problems with me is I don't have an awesome white belt story. At least I didn't think I did. But if I look back, like, my start in martial arts is really cool. And what I left out is, like, when I was 8 and I went to Huntington Beach, California, I just went with one of my, like, 17-year-old classmates. We jumped on a plane. I lived in an empty, abandoned apartment building for 2 weeks. I'm 8 years old. And I went to train with Eric Chen, who was, like a huge, like, Hollywood, like, stunt coordinator, but, like, a top, like, wushu guy. And, like, I got a lot of cool stories, man. Like, driving an hour and 45 minutes in my beat up Civic when I out of college and sleeping in the parking lot at Ricardo's just to be in a room with guys who I did not deserve to be around, just because I just wanted to live this lifestyle so bad, man. And I'm not overtly, I'm not, like, talented in any way. And one of the things I would always say is, like, you know, when you're making a game character and you could choose, like, strength and speed and agility, but you only get so many of each. My thing is this. I have a little bit of strength, a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of, like, endurance, but I have just enough of each to make myself, like, pretty effective. And I've run my business the same way. Like, I'm kind of smart, kind of good in the camera, kind of good at all these things, and it's worked out really well.
It's maximizing whatever you have. That's all any of us could do, you know. That goes back to the, you know, and I think it's been said before is I can never do your jiu-jitsu. I can only do my jiu-jitsu, you know. I
can't do your jiu-jitsu, man.
Thank God.
I mean, I probably could. I just wouldn't want to.
Nobody wants to, but you know, there's that. I think that's something that I think everybody needs to kind of take a grip on. It, you know, I could watch the Meows, I could watch the Mendez brothers. I can't do that stuff, and that's fine. That doesn't mean I can't do jiu-jitsu. You know, and like at the end of class, I always say, you know, it's like this professor gives you the paints. You paint the picture you have. You paint your picture. You could all do the same things. You're just going to do it a little bit differently.
Right.
So your artistry is going to be different. You know, I'm not going to draw the same picture as you, obviously. I just don't have the same skill set as you. Plus, I'm obviously way more flexible. So, you know, there's certain things, but it's knowing what you have, never just settling, always trying to improve, but saying, look, I'm just going to paint my picture the best I can. See what happens. Just do the best. If everybody could be the best their skill set that they have, there should be a lot of really good people. Because I know early on, you start going, man, I'm going to sell this Berimbolo Kiss of the Dragon. And not everybody can do it. It's just not going to happen, you know?
No.
You're not going to see Big West doing Berimbolos. It's just not going to happen.
No.
You know?
No. I think one of the downsides to like Danaher is Danaher's great, and like he does like whittle things down to their fundamental like principle that makes things work, but what happened was he was so widespread and like overpowering in the jiu-jitsu world that it almost made people feel like if you're not doing it that way, like that's the way to do it. And the truth is,
the way, yeah.
There is no the way. Like there's so many different ways to do this properly, and there are ways to do it wrong, and we see those all the time. But my thing is this, dude, and especially with the lockdown, and I'll leave you with this, like. It's hard to get especially our advanced students onto the Zoom calls and doing like virtual lessons. It's hard to get them involved because they're so entrenched in the way they do things and that hard training, that the traditional way of doing jiu-jitsu. And it's easier to get the white belts to do it because they're not like, set in that one path. And the truth is this, like you got to wrap your head around the idea that there's going to come a day, whether it's from injury, age, whatever happens, you're not going to be able to do jiu-jitsu the way you do it right now. This is a good step to learn how to do jiu-jitsu with the resources you have. So if you can't tune into a Zoom class and just do jiu-jitsu movements, like how about it are you, right? Yeah. Like if you can't drill on a pillow because it's beneath you, like, what are you going to do when you're 70 or 60 or 50 and you have a torn knee and you can't train the way you used to? You're going to give up? Like, man, Tune in. Like, show yourself, show me that you're about it and drill with us.
Yeah. I think that's important, too. And we talked about it last week. Drilling is good. It can't be all about just killing and, just getting after it all the time. You have to drill the motions, man. You got to get that muscle memory going.
It's either you do these classes and you tune in and you drill what you can, right? Or you do nothing.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's a no-brainer. Like I'm doing everything I can, and I'm doing 2-3 classes a day between the kids and the adults, and man, it's keeping me in the game. And guys, keep in mind, within the next month, maybe 2 months, we're going to open up just enough that you're going to be able to at least have 2 or 3 training partners who you trust, and you guys are like beholden to each other to keep your hygiene and your health up. And maybe we won't be at the school, but you're going to have your own little Gracie garages. Stay in the game, man. Like keep your hips mobile, keep like everything tight, move around, keep your brain wrapped up in jiu-jitsu, because very soon you're going to have a training partner again. Don't let this time just go away wastefully. Stay in the game, man.
Very true. It's a good way to end it. That was awesome. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time.
All right, dude. I'll see you soon.
Awesome. Very soon. I'll talk to you.
Take care, brother. Take care, guys.
Too, bro. Later, bro.